Welcome back, Jason, to another podcast of Statecraft in Motion. And today we want to talk about America First. Okay,
Sure.
Trump's America First, and what it all means. And of course, in the last few days, we've had another round of tit for tat between Trump and Xi, as it were, or China and US, imposing tariffs. And then, of course, China just put a restriction on rare earth and magnets. And I think Trump then retaliated to say that we won't be buying cooking oil. And China says we have now decided not to buy soybeans, but we're buying it from Brazil. So, Jason, just a very, very quick introduction. He's the CEO of Better Mind, Sandran Berhad, focusing on workplace mental health. So that is one of his roles, and he is also the founder and advisor of Association of Next Gen Christians of Malaysia. Acronym is ANCOM. More importantly, before he did all this, he was also an advisor, and also, I believe you were also working in Capitol Hill, right?
Yes.
At one point in your life,
Yeah.
maybe you can just narrate that a little bit.
Yeah, I was in a law firm in Capitol Hill. And,
That must have been quite exciting. When was this?
Yeah, I thought it was a law firm that goes to court, following LA law and all that. But unfortunately, it wasn't. This particular law firm was basically a lobby firm, especially when you're on Capitol Hill. There are no court cases. All we do was position papers on issues, and it was basically mapping out the stakeholder engagement with all the politicians, 435 congressmen, how will they vote, 100 senators, how will they vote, and lobbying each one of them to make sure that certain laws are passed.
So your clients were private sector,
My clients were
industries, private sector, companies?
private sector, but big pharma,
Or big pharma, okay.
pharmaceutical. I mean, they pay a huge amount of money.
Of course, yeah.
To get certain legislation passed in the US. So it was all about positioning, and but that gave me an insight very much into the entire political system of United States. So of course, senators, congressmen, and that allowed me to have a frontline seat, because later on I worked for a mayor of Atlanta. Who was a Democrat, and was also involved in his re-election.
But I
campaign.
believe today you are a Trump supporter.
Today,
Would you say that you're a Trump supporter or a Republican?
well, I'm not into partisan politics, but I can definitely resonate with a lot of things that the Republican Party, especially what Trump is doing in America. I can understand my fellow friends who are Americans. I was offered American citizenship, which I didn't take up, thank God.
Why not?
I don't fancy staying there in the long term, and in any event, partly also because I got married to a Malaysian woman, so who doesn't want to stay in America?
Okay,
so
there
I
you
came
go.
back home. So I'm one of the very few returnees that came back from US, and
And no regrets.
no regrets. So because American politics and the way that the politics was being done, there is also a lot of things that we can learn from them to
Sure.
apply in Malaysian politics
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that is why I'm also involved in all kinds of advisory sphere, and
So
advising other
yeah.
companies on geopolitics as well.
Yeah. So, Jason, tell me a little bit about Trump as a person in Trump's America's First doctrine, because it seems to me, has put a lot of, in fact, the whole global trading system into a little bit of a flux. Okay, but let's talk about Trump first. I think a lot of people, of course, like myself and so many Malaysians, we see him from TV, of course, news. And it seems so, yes, in parts theatre, in parts acting, and yet he is the most powerful man in the world. He makes very powerful decisions that has global impact. So tell us how you see Trump. I think we start from there. And then what this America First doctrine is all about.
I think President Trump tapped into the national consciousness of America, especially in the Trump 2.0 campaign. And he really was able to understand what the majority of what Americans wanted. I think for a long time the Americans were kind of taken captive over certain issues that they were unhappy about.
Such as?
Especially on abortion is a big issue. Closing the borders, outside illegal immigrants is another big issue. And of course, DEI is also another big issue about LGBTQ and all that. So especially if you talk about the heartland of America, the Bible Belt, kind of believing Christians and voters, they are the people who wants to talk about, I want to take back America. So this is also...
What does take back America really mean?
Because they
Only white people?
Yeah, for a lot of white people, they felt that they have lost control about the destiny of the country. And to many of them, the destiny of the country is that America is a nation founded under God. Even the American dollar note says, "In God we trust." So there is a lot of faith element involved in it, which is true because the founding fathers were from the Christian background. And that is why you can see that even the American Declaration of Independence has got statements about like all men are created equal. So there's a lot of biblical theology in the statehood and the nationalism. And they felt that for a long time America has lost its way because the leaders, the presidents themselves were not very strong presidents. They were like very weak and was got swayed to a certain agenda and maybe over liberal agenda. And along comes Trump, who says, "Make America great again." And that kind of also converged with take back my country. I want to take back my country as to make it the country that was destined to be the greatness that America should be. They don't care about things like American exceptionalism. So what? To them, this is good. Now we are supposed to be exceptional. We are destined for greatness. And Trump tapped into that consciousness, and that's why he won his presidency by an incredible landslide.
Sure.
So this is now being played out in all these policies, so much so that even you get Democrat politicians now saying that, okay, I have to give credit for Trump for doing this, clearing up the streets, clean up the homelessness issue, and then of course the latest major deal that he did, brokering the peace in Gaza. At least he got the hostages released. So at least both sides now cannot use the hostages to blackmail each other. That's a good step.
I remember, coming back to, the global trading system, I remember I did my master's in year 2000, and that was at the height of globalization, right? Year 2000. And I remember sitting in the class, and my lecturer was Professor Jomo, none other than Professor Jomo.
Jomo Sundram.
And he had, at Sundram at University of Malaya. And we were in the class, we were about 20 of us or 25 of us doing Malaysian economy. Okay, that was his specialty. And he was at that time saying that the Washington Consensus is not going to work. Okay, at that time. He says, and he gave his reasons, and I of course I don't remember what his reasons were, but I remember the entire class was up in arms. How come Professor Jomo, he is such a famous professor, such a brilliant guy, how can he say that he's against globalization? He's wrong, because, Malaysia, we depend on FDI, we're export oriented, of course we want globalization. And he was at that time, he says, time will tell. Okay? Things will not work out the way. I mean, again, like I said, this is like you're talking about 25 years ago. I don't remember what his arguments were. All I remember was the entire class was arguing against him, and all of us could not believe. I said, how is it that he doesn't believe in this? I mean, all of us were, students.
Okay.
25 years later, it does seem like globalization is now lost its luster. Okay, and what Trump is doing right now is, he has made China the focal point, and as the primary challenger, as you said, to the Western hegemon. Then you see, of course, Russia and Ukraine, and that was for me also another pivotal moment. And I was explaining to someone, I don't believe. I mean, yes, it seems like Russia has won militarily over Ukraine. Okay, I think on the ground, but it's taken 2-3 years. But the victory or the win for me, insofar as Russia stroke Putin is concerned, is the fact that he not only managed to overcome the sanctions, but in fact he has literally bankrupted Europe. Okay, that for me is a much greater achievement than what is on the ground militarily. Okay, with the Oreshnik or whatever it is, how much land they have conquered and so on and so forth. I'm not a military person, but to me that is the economic side is actually a lot more. And now they have both become friends. Okay, you can say it's convenience, out of convenience or whatever. And recently they have signed a Power Siberia 2, which is going to, now then allow Russia to pipe in literally billions of metric tons of oil cheap oil into China. How do you think this America First is going to counter this shift?
I mean, the shift is quite natural. But given Trump's approach and, we want to say whether it's an ideology, but his personal character and personality is such that this is a very transactional Trump and a transactional America. So making America great again means promoting American interests first.
Sure.
And foremost. So the approach that he takes is that in any negotiation, it is about what is it in for America before he begins to talk about your other country. You see, the world today, if you want to summarize it in one line, globalism is declining. So Trump is technically saying that America will no longer want to be the global referee. Used to be.
It's too costly.
Yeah. So today, America will be a global player and coach. This is what America is today. Now we're invested in the game. My players are out there in the global sphere. I'm the coach, the master coach, dictating what my players should do. And the whole idea is not to referee the game. The whole idea is to win the game. Right? So why are you playing the game? Because it's play to win. American football, American baseball is always about winning. Right?
Yeah.
So basketball. So this is that kind of geopolitical approach that Trump is looking at. And he has, by and large, created in that short time that he has been president, a new situation in the global geopolitics that you can actually say, if you want one line, America is at the center, but not always in control. This is what defines America today.
Today.
Yeah. They are right at the center of everything. Because today, all the national leaders in the world will wake up almost every morning And one of the first things that they look at is that what did Trump say yesterday, right?
While I was sleeping.
While I was sleeping. So nobody wants to miss out. So like it or not, Trump
Oh, yeah.
has that kind of influence and commands that kind of attention. I mean, who cares what Burkina Faso's president says yesterday? But everybody looks at Trump, China, Russia, and whether he said things rightly, correctly, you agree or disagree with him, that's secondary.
It still has an impact globally.
Yeah, because you still want to pay attention to what he said.
Sure.
That's why I say, so America, he's in the center of attention. America is the center of attention, but not always in control. He tries to be in control. So because the world is now quite asymmetric. So therefore, you don't get to control everything. So just like in any game, you don't control the whole
But
game.
do you think he realizes that? Do you think Washington realizes that they're no longer in control? Although they're in the center, but they're no longer in control. Do the policymakers and advisors to understand this?
I suspect not all of them do, because when you have an ego as big as Trump, and most of them will take after the master and their leader, equally wearing that big ego when they go around projecting their leader's ego in negotiation conversations. They tend to fall into sometimes a self-delusional thinking that we are still in control. So that's why I say the more accurate description of what's happening today is that, America is at the center. You're at the center of attention, but you're not always in control. There are many places that you are in control, but there are also many places and many spheres which you are not in control.
Right.
So a good policymaker or a good politician or a geopolitical analyst would look at it that way and say, this is actually what is happening in the world today. So in what areas is America is in control, what areas America is not in control. And now that America is no longer the global referee, they're now in the game. They got skin in the game. So the referee position technically is vacant. Is there a new global referee? Who wants to step into that? Does China want to step into that?
I don't think so.
Does Russia want to? Nobody wants to step into that, right? Because it's a no-win thing, right? Whoever steps into that ends up losing time, losing money, losing a lot of energy, and you don't get much out of it.
Yeah.
So this is how the world is moving towards to the geopolitics today.
Yeah, I was going to, make reference to the Plaza Accord. Okay, the Plaza Accord was imposed on Japan when America felt that the Japanese economy was a threat to America. At one point, Japan was economy was even bigger than Germany's, and almost at par, if I'm not mistaken, almost at par with America. And this was in the 80s. You're talking about early 80s. Of course, things are very different now. But one of the primary levers, if you like, of the Plaza Accord was, one is to make sure that you devalue the dollar so that things foreign goods don't become so cheap. Okay, so it's more expensive for you to buy, so you don't buy so much. Okay, then as Trump says, you don't need 200 color. You only need one color pencil. You don't need 200 markers. I think that was his example. And to weaken the dollar, to create some sort of asset bubble, in this case China, stagnate your opponent's economy, get your opponent's currency revalued, and trigger some sort of a stagflation. Do you think this is the same tactic that you're trying on China, and do you think that has been successful? I know it's not one-to-one. I mean, I know the situation is very different, but if you look at the outcome of what they want to achieve, it's similar to the Plaza Accord.
I'm not too sure that this was a conscious strategy. It could be something that is not consciously or intentionally or deliberately applied. But certainly your example about what happened to Japan is definitely instructive, because post Plaza Accord, Japan had to the yen appreciated, and they had to basically keep lowering, reducing interest, and it was so low, and then the entire Japanese economy, companies in Japan lost money,
Yeah.
easily 40% of the usual profits, and Japan went into a major decades of
Yeah, the lost decade they called it. Yeah.
deflation and stagflation.
Correct.
Not just one decade.
Several
I
decades, yeah.
suspect it's probably about closer to about 30 years.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you
yeah.
mentioned 1980, 30 years until about 2010 or so. So, and Japan, of course, in a way, came out of it. We are not exactly booming in Japan, but they did not collapse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people even call it a zombie economy.
Yeah, zombie. It's been zombified.
A
Zombified.
zombie economy.
And rapidly falling
Yeah, so-
population growth
so
and
will the same thing happen with China? Short answer, I don't think so. But there's a risk. A risk of China falling into a zombie-like economy, but managed by the state with political will, sheer political will, and not so much by market vitality or market forces. Because China's economy is very well regulated at the center by the state. So no way that the party is going to allow China to collapse. I don't see China collapsing anytime. The economy and the GDP is still very big.
yeah.
Even if you talk about 4.5% GDP growth, that's bigger than Australia, right? So it's still a very substantial GDP. Of course, gone are the days where you talk about a double
6, 7.
digit, double digit
Actually,
growth.
they don't even want it.
Yeah,
They want
no
it,
more,
yeah,
right?
it's
So
it's also
they have-
it's very risky anyway if you
Yes,
have that
yes,
kind
so-
of.
So they have progressed,
growth, yeah.
and here they are. But nevertheless, the risks are there because there are at least three things that China has to handle and tackle the challenges. So one, obviously, everybody talks about the demographic dilemma of China, because China's population is an aging population. Not only is it aging, it is losing its population. So losing its workforce. So much so that it will come in a time where India it will surpass China as the most
Populous country
most
in the world.
populous country in
Yeah.
the world, and so that's one. Second one is about the unemployment among the youth. That has been a major problem because at one time it hit about 20%, and they have all kind of movement,
Yeah.
tanping, lying flat. So there's a lot of disillusionment among the youth because somehow the state is not able to generate that kind of employment, and so much so that the state authorities at one time even stopped publishing the data on unemployment because it gets too negative. So they need to do something about it. And the third one is about the debt, because the debt problem is very real in China. Total debt, public and private debt in China comes up to close to about 300 billion. 300 trillion.
300 trillion? No, cannot
maybe.
be.
Total
3 trillion, 3 trillion, 3 trillion US.
This is 300. This is total.
Yeah.
Total
yeah,
debt.
Yeah.
The numbers is trillion because the American total debt.
It's 36.
We're talking about that is the national debt. That is one debt. But when you add in all the total debt, meaning you add in everything else,
In the whole world.
corporate
In
and
the whole
everything
world.
else in your country,
Yeah, okay. All right.
including borrowings and all that, there is a calculation that say the America total debt today is about 700 trillion. That's
Yeah,
But
including
the
including
national
national debt is
that they say is
36
37 trillion.
Yeah,
Right?
36,
China
37.
is much lower.
Yeah, about
but
2 or
but
3. But
whatever the number is, it's a huge number. And post the property boom and bust in China, the collapse of Evergrande,
Yeah.
and then we have Century Garden. There were a lot of things that did not go well. The construction sector really declined. And many people were kind of expecting China to take some tough measures to do the reforms and to clear up all this mess. But China has been very slow in doing this because it's not easy to handle this. Because at the back of this is what we call the problem of the shadow banking situation in China. Under their SOEs, which borrow a lot of money, which is actually off budget. These are the off budget agencies. The provincial governments will borrow the money. And IMF has stated that the shadow banking debt of China is about 11
trillion.
Yeah, 11 trillion. But there's one Chinese professor from Tsinghua University. He says that number is actually lower, too low. It should be 50% higher. So he's putting it at about 15 at least trillion.
Or more, 20.
So the shadow banking part is unusual because it's only peculiar to China because many of these parts are still unregulated. The banks the big banks are okay, but the smaller provincial banks sometimes have issues. That is why in very remote parts of China you get still cases where depositors are not allowed to withdraw the money. So these are small pockets, not in the big cities, but these are very small banks. You never even heard about them. Provincial banks who don't have enough money to allow the withdrawal. So all this needs a lot of political will, but it needs to be handled. Whereas America, they have gone through all kinds. They've gone through the subprime, they have recapitalized, they have strengthened Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, everything else. So they are quite all right. So the shadow banking part of America is virtually not really existent. It's that most of the things are regulated.
The way I look at how China is playing and America playing off each other, I think, of course, America is like as you mentioned, okay, the housing collapse. I think they're all looking at each other. The narrative is, okay, China is restricting rare earths, and that is actually going against not just US but also the entire world. They are well, in a sense, the bad guys. They have housing problem. They have population. They are depopulating. They have shadow banking, which is a problem, debts and all that kind of thing. Then on the other hand, in the US, things are also not altogether rosy. If you look at the S&P and if you look at the Dow Jones, I think the stock market is like really virtually predicated on 7 companies, right? The Magnificent Seven make up probably about 40 to 50% of the valuation on the stock side. Then you have, of course, even when people like Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio come out and say, look, we're really, and even Elon Musk, and say, look, our debt's unsustainable and it's getting worrisome, and the banking system is, having a lot of problems, and we're printing too much. Do we really want to be the reserve currency? But if we're not, you're still up and down. Now, some people say, no, we must. We can never concede that position, because that is the privilege of having to being able to print money at will.
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like to me, okay, China is like, okay, looking at America and says, okay, this country is about to collapse. Then America also saying, okay, this China, no, just a bit more. It's like Ukraine, just a bit more. We just need to push it a little bit, give it, tariffs and whatever, So I'm seeing that is that healthy for global trade and relations?
Well, this is what people call great powers competition. So there's competition between great powers. So China is a great power. I don't want to define it as a superpower because there are different definition. So China is a great power. So is America. Russia is a great power. So, and even to some extent, Japan is also a great power. So the great power competition definitely is very real, and whether or not it's healthy for the global
Well, certainly
landscape.
not healthy for us. I mean, the rest of the rest of the global majority, it's been so distressing. It's like looking at two parents arguing, going for an acrimonious divorce. You don't even know who. I mean, one day your mother says this one, your father say another thing. You don't know who to follow, and then you get punished if you go the other side. This is how I think the global majority is
True.
feeling.
I mean, even in Malaysia, we have our own saying: when the two elephants fight, the
grass will
gets
suffer,
trampled.
crumple.
So we are like grass. I mean, we are so small, right? But that's the reality of things. So the competition will continue. Only to what extent and what intensity will this competition go? As we can see today, it seems to be getting a bit more intense. And America has basically, under Trump, has pushed itself to be fairly dominant in the world today. And he begins to extract some kind of loyalty pledge from various countries, right? And I think the smaller countries today needs to understand that whatever pledge that, even if they pledge or they align themselves with America, they must always have a plan B. So most of them has the plan B. So ostensibly we are with America, but we should have a plan
What did
B.
Kissinger say? To be an enemy of America is dangerous, but to be a friend of America is fatal.
Yeah, because you never know. Because at the end of the day, the mantra is still make America,
America great again.
America first. So you are a friend, you are second. so, so if America's come first, and we give the priority to American interests, if that is going to cost you as a friend, that's too bad. You take it. So either you take it, or you walk away.
Okay, let's talk about America. I mean, since you're very you have friends on the ground and you've been at Capitol Hill, the left and right divide. How real is it, or is that intentional? Okay, I'll give you my theory. Okay, because I look at Trump. Surely his advisors are all, educated. They've been in public policy before and things like this. And, to be able to challenge the First Amendment by arresting students, sending your army to arrest, American citizens and things like that. Surely he knows that this is in contravention to so many of the against the Constitution. I'm sure he knows that. Why is he doing it? In my theory is that he may be one of those people, okay, who believes, like Ray Dalio, believes that every country goes through different phases, right, of rise, fall, and so on, right?
Yeah.
And America is in the last phase. The Roman Empire took nearly 700 years to collapse, okay? The Byzantine, I think, survived another 500-600 years before the Ottomans came. Then the British Empire is only now on its last legs. It's been about 100 years. Okay? And because China is so resolute and has just risen so fast, and it's a civilization on its own. It is not some small country like Japan. America doesn't even have 50 years to collapse before it can come up. My theory is, could he be so brilliant that, okay, let's get America fired up, get people so angry, let's have a civil war and crash the whole thing so that we can come up really fast, because we just don't have time to wait for a Collapsing empire, slowly. Okay.
That would be assuming several things. That means you're assuming that Trump is hastening the reset
Yes, hastening the reset.
so that
So that the rise is
it can
the
hit
recover faster. Yeah.
the curve. But given Trump's character, he would probably have already said or think in his mind that America's worst days are behind me. And to him, the worst days are those Biden days, the Clinton days, the Obama days, where, and now that I'm president, happy days are starting now. And that
Okay, so what you're saying is that he already believes that America has already collapsed. Now he's on the
has
rise.
gone past.
Okay.
He wouldn't say it's collapsed, but it has gone to its weaker state, and now it has already reached the lowest part of the curve, and now we are on the up end. So we are rising, and we will continue to rise and be greater and greater. So that I would read it that way, so it's just a question of that timeline, whether he's one to collapse it. Because if he were to do things intentionally to collapse it, then he would have to deal with the political backlash of it. I mean, is he going to make that the Dow Jones is going to go down or the share market is going to take a hit? I don't think so. I think he is quite happy to keep it as it is, keep it buzzing. Everything is booming and everything is hunky-dory, and that's the kind of, he's the go-getter kind of thing. We are winning and we continue to win. As you can see in every of these cabinet ministers or cabinet secretaries, they will post certain things on X or Twitter, and then they will say, "No, this is how we win." So American soldiers, we will not have fat generals. This is how we win. Generals must go through 2 physical every year. Make sure that you are not overweight, you can run. And Peter Heck said, he say, okay, I can pump 40 pumps, 40 push-up. So that he expects all the generals to fall in line, that kind of.
Now it's been renamed Department of War just to reflect that kind of spirit of fighting back.
No more about defense. So to them, the strategy is that the best defense is offense. Right? So we are beyond defense now. We want more offensive. And that's how we win. So that's how we score points. That's how we win in football. That's how we win in basketball. We can't be defending always. So we want to win. So this is how. So the Trump's actions are dictated and basically being rolled out along that line. Whether it is a denial of the facts or whether he is self-delusional, that remains to be seen, because so far things seems to be going on fine along what he has kind of predicted. And definitely even when he started his tariff strategy, a lot of people were saying, oh, tariffs, you're going to have runaway inflation, you're going to have recession. But where are all these things? There's no runaway inflation. Inflation is basically fairly well controlled. Even the federal Fed also says so. And the stock market is booming and it's high. Yes, recently because of some hoo-ha, there was some drop in the stock
It's
market.
only just in the one last week, that's all. But although, like I said, it is just so much easier to manipulate the stock market now if you have a heavyweight of only 7 companies, right? Recently, there was a forum in Vladivostok in Russia, and the advisor to Putin, Anton Kobiakov, he said that the debt burden, we're coming back to the debt burden, is so huge in America that they're going to inflate it away by issuing stable coins, CBDCs. Do you see that happening? Under the Genius Act, that's what the Genius Act was all about.
I think there is a misunderstanding about what the Genius Act is all about. And of course, being Putin's advisor, making statements like this is good for sound
Yeah,
bites. You grab attention and it will definitely be reported. But more often than not, it looks more like a propaganda statement, a very easy statement to make and easy to be picked up and repeated by other people. But the truth is that the Genius Act is enacted and legislated not to be used to pay off the debt. It is used to regulate the crypto side of the financial world, so that it can be used as like stable coins. It can be used as investable instrument, because the traditional treasury bills and all those things are the traditional conventional bills that America will issue. And given the new developments in the crypto world and cryptocurrency, you need some new instruments so that people can buy.
Yep.
So maybe it is something like propaganda to scare away people. Don't buy this this treasury crypto issued by the US. But somehow people will buy. Trump used to be a non-believer in crypto. Trump 1. Now he said he doesn't understand it. It's all rubbish. But Trump 2, I think, very much has to do with his children.
Well, the children did set up a company called
Yes.
World Liberty
So-
Financial, and they are actually going to be issuing stable coins with the
They already
Saudis.
issued some,
that's
and
right.
they issued all kinds of stuff, and they made billions out of it.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is the business side of Trump's family.
The family wants to establish a new Fed Reserve. that's
Not so easy. You can
Yeah.
establish a small part of it as a crypto reserve currency. Well, I think Trump is covering all bases,
Yep.
just in case that if the technology and the world moves towards crypto, he's prepared. America is prepared. We have all this. So the Genius Act is designed to regulate this. There is no provision in the Genius Act that allows them to basically use that to extinguish the national debt of 37 trillion. It's not in the legislation.
in the act. Yeah.
So, but it is definitely an interesting development to look at.
Yep.
The moment you see any legislation by Congress that goes towards that direction, then maybe you say, here it comes. They may use it. So definitely Trump is very well aware of the debt deficit. Elon Musk has been reminding him all this while.
You see, it's funny how you should talk about the shadow banking. I actually read a paper. Vietnam has recently closed something like 83 million bank accounts. Okay? As long as you cannot prove thumbprint, identity and all that kind of thing, they'll just close your account. So now everything is digitized.
Yeah.
Okay? And the bigger the shadow economy is, the more likely the country is going to adopt CBDCs, because it's programmable and you can virtually just track everything. So there are a lot of concerns about CBDCs in that regard. Do you feel that America is ready for that kind of level of surveillance?
This kind of CBDC is basically been pushed very much by the globalists. WEF at one time, and still do. Europe today is still talking about it. With a different president who's aligned to people like Bill Gates and all that, maybe they might want to go there. But for Trump, no. Trump is still very much traditional. To him, still cash is still king. And you say it to the CIA, the CIA will tell you, we are not going to go through all this CBDC, know your customer, identify ourselves. How do they use money to influence the Middle East and to pay off everybody in the Middle East? It's all cash, right? Whether it's Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, none of these global leaders who takes money from America would want to leave a money trail or digital trail that the money came into my account. And I mean, it's all cash. Every single drug trafficker out there is all about cash. You look at Escobar.
That's not not a good reason to keep cash or keep your cash going as a country.
Yeah, because I mean that's the reality. I mean, even in Malaysia, look at all the politicians who are caught with money. It's all cash. 177 million cash. And Sabah, same thing. Because ultimately, how do you hide it? The most convenient thing is still cash. So nobody wants. So long as corruption is still at a high, so long as money laundering is still very much there.
But China would argue gold. Asians,
China is different. China has clamped down very heavily on corruption, right? Whether they use it for political purpose or otherwise, that's different. But China has got this kind of society and authoritarian kind of government that wants to control every people's life. So much so that if you have a bad credit today in China and you're a citizen, you might not be able to buy certain things, so they keep tabs on everybody. But America, well, we are still land of the free, home of the brave. No, this is not for me. So Trump, he don't mind making money through crypto and whatever currency, digital whatever. Money is money, right? But it is still traditional for him, and he will still remain that. So I don't see any. Even the Fed, I don't think they have even started anything close to CBDC. Nothing. Europe, at least, they have started some legislation. They're trying to pass it. So not so much for Trump. And Trump is not a friend of the globalists anyway.
What would you call him if he's not a globalist? He's just...
He wants to be the dominator, and he dominates as much as he can. He tries to. That's why he puts America center, front and back.
Yeah.
Right. But intention is one thing. The reality is another. So how far has he succeeded? To a large extent, he has succeeded. Because
out of maybe 100 in a basket, maybe 2 or 3 is good enough.
Yeah.
2 big ones, 2, 3 big ones.
That's it.
Yeah,
so
that's how he is. That's a very business way of approaching
he
success
grabs
rate.
as much allies as possible. But like I said earlier, yes, you may have got an ally, but always remember that your ally has a plan B, and that plan B more often than not includes China. Because they need to. What if? I mean, you can't put all your eggs in one basket with Trump. What if Trump is assassinated?
I can see Singapore playing that game already.
Singapore, is it? So here you can see Singapore beginning to voice certain things that they have never said before publicly, but now openly criticizing America and doing it. So no choice. You're a small country. These giant powers are fighting. And you better have your plan A and your plan B. So now, small countries, whether it's Malaysia or Singapore or what, they do not go by blocks anymore. We are going based on my interest. So they will join blocks based on interest. Does this block help to promote and protect my interests? Then I join. It's not just because you set up a SEO or big therefore your big name I have to join you. No. If it promotes my interest, I will join. If not, no. So that is basically the plan B.
No, I find that what Malaysia is doing is not my interest. Join everything. All the membership also I want, and then don't care whether good or bad, as long as this club, join all clubs. Okay, let's not be picky because we don't know which club is going to win. Okay, so this is how I feel we are playing. Any club that people offer, we join. That is our de-risking strategy. I feel so. Join all clubs. so you don't miss out. GCC, SCO, BRICS. Okay, coming back to Malaysia. Okay, ASEAN. People keep talking about ASEAN centrality, ASEAN neutrality. How's it working so far against backdrop of all this? Trump 2.0.
ASEAN to me has always been overrated. Despite the fact that you talk about, we have 600 million people, there's a substantial number of population. But so far, really, objectively, what has ASEAN achieved today? Are we really a player in the scheme of things in the world? And ASEAN itself is not that fully united. The things that we want to do, we can't even take care of the situation in Myanmar. It's been such a drag, right? There was this unusual haste to admit Myanmar way back in the, when was that, 97? And look what a big mess Myanmar has been for us today. So we are talking about trying to do direct intervention, constructive engagement, but nothing, really nothing. So, and now we are rushing to put in Timor-Leste. I don't know. For me, I don't think it's so wise. There is no need to rush to enlarge the membership of ASEAN. We were doing pretty okay with the top 5 countries, and we say that this is supposed to be the ZOP right? The zone of peace, freedom, and neutrality. That's the original purpose of ASEAN.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not so much to be an economic bloc. We can't even be an economic bloc because we are not fully integrated. There's no ASEAN currency like the euro.
Or central bank or
nothing.
even a development bank, to call out.
So we just have that kind of trade, among neighbors. That's about it. So
get together every year.
So ASEAN centrality, ASEAN doesn't even speak with one voice. When it comes to South China Sea, there are various voices, different voices. When it comes to even Gaza, different voices. Malaysia will speak, but the others will keep very quiet. Singapore is not having any of this. Right? Singapore is like.
Oh, which reminds me, why were we not invited to the Egypt summit?
Well, the official statement from Tokman was Malaysia's support for that 20-point solution was conditional. So I do not know what was the condition that we imposed. I think it is a fairly long and lengthy 20-point solution. You need to dissect each one of them, analyze it one by one. Some are good, some are not that good. Some are predicated upon certain assumptions.
Which maybe perhaps Malaysia was not
more
agreeable
towards
with.
the Israel side rather than Palestine.
Yeah.
And of course, there is a vague mention that all this, if everything is settled, eventually it will pave the way for the creation of the independent Palestine. But that's eventually. After the 20-point solution has been done, after you have do all the development, and there are 3 lines. There are lines of control and the line of security for Israel. And so many things are still very pro-Israel in the 20-point solution. So I don't think Malaysia can accept all of it. But it does also shows that Trump is able to gather a fairly large consensus among those people whom he has invited, who has actually turned up. So if you want to say...
Never mind that your negotiators died in a car crash on the way to the meeting.
Doesn't matter. Right? They're still there. They're invested in it. So Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan, Egypt, and even Indonesia.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was... then it seems that he was picked up on the hot mic that he had a side deal with Eric Trump. Okay, let's look at let's not divert to geopolitics so much, but let's look at the rare earth and the magnet war. How do you see this thing going? I mean, yes, I mean China was was smart enough to have picked this up, 20 years ago, developed the supply chain, and then they now have a monopoly, an absolute monopoly. I mean, I think 90%, I would call it a monopoly. And now for other countries like Europe and US to now pick up and say, okay, rare earth is not rare earth. We've got plenty of it in America. But realistically, how long do you think it would take to build a supply chain comparable to what China is? And if there is going to be a gap of, say, people say 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, then where will AI be by the end of it? It will be a runaway.
China's dominance in rare earth and supply chain was actually built as a result of America's and many of those progressive countries in the world abdication.
Yep.
They abdicated their position on the altar of environment.
Yes.
They say,
yes.
it's no good.
Correct.
So
because
the environmentalists had a field day then and say, no, we're not going to have all these dirty industries, pollution, toxic place in our country, not in my backyard.
Correct.
So China can have it all.
Yep.
But that was a very short-sighted thing because they were pushing the environmental green agenda at a cost. So today, looking back, it's too late. China embraced all of it and did it their way, and they have control of generally the supply chain. So, yes, looking at the resource that is currently located in America, there are at least two main mines which are on rare earth. But your question on as to how fast can they scale up to begin to start rebuilding their refining technology, because it has to do with the refining technology.
Correct. It's not the availability of the resources.
They abandoned the technology because that technology was simply too toxic.
Yep.
So now, of course, the technology has kind of improved and advanced. You can do less toxic refining, and realistically, you need a minimum of 3 years to scale up that, to regain whatever technology that you have lost. They have all the technology. US has the technology. They didn't want to use it because they said it was simply too bad. So 3 years minimum. I think realistically probably about 5 years. So in the short term, I think China would have an advantage because they have these 3 to 5 years. But the world will eventually catch up. So Europe, Australia, now there's a change of mind, and of course Vietnam, Brazil. I mean, rare earth is found in many places.
It's many places. It's not rare. I mean, it's not rare. It's the refining.
It's
now,
a technology.
Yeah, my next question, and I think is, people think of rare earth military equipment. Okay, it's not okay. Although it's in everything, audio equipment, and all that kind of thing, it's very, very important. But the minute you talk about rare earth, people associate, at least, especially in this day when everybody is war, Third World War. People are it's always in people's minds, this word war. Even Department of War, okay, is telling you, hey, look, you got to be ready. So everyone's scared. So when you talk about rare earth, people associate that with military equipment, technology. So what you're saying is, as a layman, if America is going to catch up with the rare earth mining and refining, and they can eventually build their own military equipment without China's supply chain, that is when America will declare war against China.
I wouldn't be so pessimistic. There will be this great powers competition. They will continue to compete. The intensity will probably increase, be more intense, but it won't go to that extent where as to trigger
kinetic war.
Or kinetic war, because in a war everyone loses no matter what. You have
a lot of war hawks in Washington that are rooting for Taiwan.
Yes, but their leader is not, technically Trump is not so much of a war hawk. His record shows And he still, no matter what you say about him, he still has a heart for innocent people. That's why he wanted the hostage to be released, and he wanted to broker peace. And
I don't think Biden could have done that. I think the whole Biden administration just was in a, I don't know, some kind of zombie fight kind of state. I'm not sure what happened there. Actually.
It was the auto pen. That's why
it's like
that was in control. So no leadership at all by the president. And everybody doing their own thing, and everybody promoting their own interests. The military industrial complex
just overran everything.
Overran and just creating war, selling weapons and military supplies.
Yeah, but I don't see that ending, Jason. So that's why I'm saying the minute they get hold of the supply chain, how are we not to assume that this is the end goal?
It will still take some time because if you look at the Ukraine war, it has been 3 years now. So there has been a lot of usage of whatever weapons and whatever ammunition, bombs and everything.
It's all been depleted. So now they need to replenish, correct?
Yeah, so this is now being replenished.
Now it's being replenished. So if you want to replenish, is to what? It's to fight China. That's all it is. That's a kind of like 1+1 kind of conclusion, I would say. It's still too simplistic as far as you're concerned.
It will be because there is still too many moving parts in doing a war with China. You need to do a war that you have minimum backlash and casualty. Ukraine is definitely an ideal war for the military industrial complex because Ukraine is so far away from Fortress America. It doesn't affect heartland of America. It doesn't affect homeland security. Who cares about Ukraine? Ukraine can die and rot, but that's a nice war to fight, because we can send all our things. We sell and we launder our money, whatever is wonderful because it provides all these economic opportunities. We all get rich at the expense of the Ukrainians and some Russians, right? So if at all a war, they will pick something like Ukraine, right? So
they're hoping Taiwan would be like that. But Taiwan won't be.
Maybe,
but it won't be.
I think more likely Iran. Iran looks like to be the next because everything now is converging now with this settlement and peace. So they have taken care of the Gaza and Palestine thing. So
you still believe that they will still want to go into a conflict with Iran? It's inevitable. They say by end of the year.
I wouldn't say by end of the year. There is a bet with some friends by end of Trump's administration.
So which means you're talking about another
3 years, maybe.
2-3 years.
We bet one bottle of whiskey. So not say a war in Iran. We just say there will be a regime change in Iran.
No, they've been trying. They've been trying to do this for
they
the
have been
last
doing this for the past
last
couple of years already.
You think that's possible, or just waiting for Ayatollah to pass away?
One
I think once he passes on, I think it will be
wait
difficult.
for the natural passing of the Ayatollah.
He's already
85, and he's not too well. He has
of course.
got some illness, so it might just be a natural death. Otherwise, Trump has no hesitation, as you can see, to bomb Iran. Whether it's nuclear, whether it's nuclear enrichment facilities, whatever, he will do it. So long as it doesn't include putting American soldiers or foot on the ground. Sending planes to bomb the facility, no issue. Based on Israel intelligence, whatever. So he will do it. Because if that kind of bombing and support for Israel can help to cause a regime change in Iran,
they would want it.
Yes, because after Iraq, Iran is the next biggest jackpot. Okay, aside from Venezuela, which something is also.
Yeah, I was going to say Venezuela. The lady says, forget about Middle East. We got plenty of oil.
Yeah. So
Why do you have to go so far? We are in your backyard.
So you
know?
have the opposition leader
Yes.
and the winner of the
Or the
Nobel
Nobel
Peace
Prize, yeah.
for that matter, telling America that, hey, come and do some war in my country. I mean,
Regime change,
so,
yeah, so that I can,
you see, so at the end of the day, it's still about oil and gas.
yeah. It's still about energy.
Yeah,
Still
it's all
energy,
about that.
Energy.
And also, it plays into the hands of the bigger powers in the Middle East. I mean, like Saudi and even Turkey. Who wants to be the tyco? We cannot allow Iran to be the tyco. And we cannot allow Iran to have the Islamic nuclear bomb, right? So we will want
But
it.
it's never
So
about the
without
nuclear
Iran,
bomb,
who is the
anyway.
natural big brother in the Middle East? Saudi. That's why Saudi is funding everything else.
Yeah.
You see,
It's not going to be Israel anymore. I
And
mean,
they-
for
they-
them,
yeah.
I think this whole nuclear argument is actually ridiculous, because you don't even need to have nuclear warheads in your country. It's so much cheaper to just sign an agreement with Pakistan. Okay, that's it.
exactly.
Piece of paper, maybe a dinner. That's so much cheaper, right? You
have
just do it. You
access
just do
to
it.
nuclear weapons.
You just do an Article 5 with Pakistan. That's all you need. Why go and build this and then get the inspection and then you have allow spies to come into your country? No need. Just do a Article
And
5 with
it's
Pakistan.
already
It's already.
ready to.
And it doesn't even have to be
deploy.
long range. Yeah, it doesn't have long, because Pakistan is just nice. It just gets to the middle. It's just next door. That's all.
All you need is to buy the nuclear launch codes.
Well,
So
yeah,
you have the
I
codes, that's it. I don't even need to launch it from my country. I'm launching it from your country.
So I think this whole thing about Iran getting nuclear enrichment, the 90%, 60%, I mean, Bibi Netanyahu and others talking about, I said, hey, it's so irrelevant these days. And then plus, with the intercontinental ballistic missiles, the Oreshniks and things like that, why do you need nuclear warheads? In fact, this is so much better.
Yeah.
It cannot be stopped by any of your Iron Dome or whatever it is. Cannot be stopped by any equipment, by any aircraft. It decimates your country without the radiation, without destroying the environment, so that I also can live in. If I were to take over your country, all I have to do is release a ballistic missile. I can take over and I can rebuild, and flora and fauna can still live. You know what I mean? It's
My,
so
my
nuclear.
homeland is still protected.
It's
and
still
clean.
private. Still is. So I think this whole nuclear argument, when people say, oh, you
It
cannot
is
allow a
just a reason to justify eventual regime change, so that I can have access to your energy resources and all.
Yeah, but will China and Russia allow it?
I don't think they are in a position to really stop it.
Prevent it from happening.
Because this thing is already coming. If you look at the recent years, how many Iranian military commanders have been taken out by assassination by the Mossad, Israel?
In the especially in the last 1 year or so.
And even the President Raimi, died in a very suspicious helicopter crash.
Right, you see, that was really bizarre. I mean, I was on social media, and I was on X, and I'm like, huh? What happened? He was just at in Azerbaijan signing launching some sort of.
This is the guy who was earmarked to be the successor to Ayatollah Khamenei,
yes.
right? So he should be the next Ayatollah. So they know, right? So he was targeted, and of all things, I read through the whole background. The helicopter that he went in was more than 50 years old.
Bell helicopter. It was a Bell helicopter.
I mean, why put the president in the helicopter that is so old?
Yeah, but then since the pager attack, I think they also at that time did mention this could be a phone exploding and things like this. So now it may be that, really.
It only means one thing, that the security of Iran has already been penetrated.
Has been compromised.
Penetrated all kind of spies.
Just like your
I mean, how did
Hezbollah
it's not Haniyeh
Yes.
die in Iran?
At the inauguration of the
Yeah.
president, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the absolute insult, isn't it?
Right. I mean, this is the guy who's there. And how did they know of all person he is in that particular safe house? So, totally compromised. All the commanders dying, assassinated, compromised. President gone. So, you see, if you look at it, there is a systematic elimination of all the leaders in Iran.
Yeah.
Virtually not many left. Only the Ayatollah and just a few. So, the new president is actually, is he compromised? Is he
Well, there's certainly a lot of question marks about
so
him. You know,
he doesn't
Yes.
say very much about US. I mean, he's not like the Ayatollah.
In fact, for
who-
me, I think the foreign minister is a lot more,
Right.
more
local.
vocal and clearer.
Yeah.
I think he has. I find that he articulates it a little bit more with better conviction
Yeah.
and clarity. Whereas Pezeshkian does have a lot of he's not as
It's not so clear cut.
Yeah, it's not so clear-cut.
Sometimes I read
Sometimes
him is like
he's like, you know,
he can
what
be
what
more forthcoming,
exactly,
more
and then
vocal, and more.
and considering that he's a surgeon, you know, I mean, being a scientist, you know how they're very clear cut. You know, it's like, okay, yes, you know, you got to cut means you got to cut. You cannot say, do I want to cut it this way or that way? Usually they're very very firm, right? You know, they make a decision, okay, you go with it. But he does. I think politically he's. But then again, it is how it is, and in any case, it's still very much in. It's everybody we've spoken to, and I'm sure you get the same feeling. It's
I
still
see that
very. The world is still.
It's just
in,
coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, because the regime somehow, by hook or by crook, they will get it done. I mean, who expected Syria and Assad to fall?
To fall within a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Everybody
like,
saying,
we were shocked.
I was
It was
looking
1
at,
year ago. Yeah, 1
you're going to take them 6 months before they reach
Damascus.
Right. And then suddenly, within 2 weeks, and that's it.
Yeah.
All his generals refused to fight. Were all these people paid off?
Yeah.
It looks like it's Iraq.
Even our Syrian high commission or embassy here,
Yeah.
the staff just changed the flag. That's
Yeah.
it. No problem.
No
They
more.
changed the flag.
Right. I mean, considering the fact that Assad had been such instrumental leader of Syria, doing a lot of good for the country and everything else, but yet at the end
Yeah,
of the day,
well, the sanction really broke them. I mean, it's just like Iran, same thing.
That's
You
it.
know, the sanction is been devastating. That's why I said Putin's success in this war is actually not so much the military; it's the way he
yeah,
overcame. I don't know how many thousand
he
sanctions.
navigated the whole sanction
Yeah, the whole
regime.
thing.
Yeah.
And secondly, he made sure that his people all had food to eat.
Yes.
There was food on the table. Okay, so I was in Russia earlier this year, and I tell you, the quality of food is amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So he made sure that the food supply chain was not only not disrupted, even doubled. Okay, and so much so they are even exporting grains to China.
Yes.
Okay, especially on the Ukraine side, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to then overcome the sanctions, make sure that inflation was running for a little bit, about 20%, but I think it's now down to about 7 or 8%, so it's all manageable.
Yeah.
So being a wartime economy, so that it's already under control. And then on top of it, having your Nord Stream pipeline blown up, sabotage, and now being able to then pipeline straight into China's backyard, which is the biggest. It's really quite it's quite a skill. It's quite a skill, I must say.
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite a skill. So that, to me, this whole military what they call it, special military operation, is actually predicated on economics rather than what is happening on the battlefield, which is why I feel that this whole trade war with China, between China and US, is actually a precursor to something more serious. You have it's kinetic war is only maybe the last resort. You really have, it's a whole encompassing, it's an all encompassing thing. You banking, food supply chain, rare earths, tariffs, your manufacturing capability, weaken all these first. Then the final is
It will take some time before they get there.
but then Jason, you and I will have to live through this, and we could be 80 years old, when we're having to see all this. This is like, how do we stop this? How do we stop this train wreck?
We never know. I mean, there is still a glimmer of hope. People like Elon Musk, Neuralink is there, and AI has been developed. So, well, I think you never know if the Neuralink thing really takes off. All you need is to preserve your memory and in your brain. All the rest part of your anatomy is pretty much replaceable with bionics or whatever they call it. So that's the way of the future. So, man, a human maybe can live almost forever. So,
I don't think God is going to allow that somehow.
I mean, how is Elon Musk going to send a human to a planet that's further than Mars or Saturn, Jupiter? I mean, the number of years he's in the rocket will basically kill him because he will die of old age. So the only way, that is why I look at it and the play that he has got, Neuralink and all that. So that is supposed, you look at the Optimus 1 and 2 robot, and now Optimus 3 is out. So slowly, all you need is just to replace your brain chip on Optimus 3, Optimus 4, and you can go all the way to Jupiter.
I'm not sure if I really want that. Anyway, I think it's time for lunch, Jason.
Yeah.
We will wrap this up. But thank you very much again. That was a good conversation. Let's continue. So whenever there's something interesting.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, then we can
geopolitics
chat again.
is ever changing, and the landscape.
Our challenge right now is trying to build numbers. Right, we're trying to get to a critical mass. But please let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Good.
Jason.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm back again on the post-analysis of episode 10 on US and Malaysia relations. Again, I did a continuation on continued conversation with Jason Leong. Again, we did our introduction in episode 9. He is as I say, he is an analyst and also a consultant. He was once actually working on the Hill in Capitol Hill in Washington. So he moved back, I think about 15 years ago, and that's when I got to know him. And we've worked together on a lot of projects together, and he is known to be not only a traditionalist now, he was once a Democrat, and now he is very much a pro-Trump and pro-Republican supporter. So I invited him to speak on episode 10 simply because I wanted to have his insights on what he thinks about the Trump style of administration, especially Trump 2.0. And his insights were interesting because for us living in Malaysia and in Southeast Asia, unless you're in Singapore and Taiwan or Philippines, I think most people have a some of us have rose tinted view of the US simply because we understand it, we are familiar with it. But right now, China is a new player. Okay, not new, but certainly a new type of power play is being carried out in Asia, and we're feeling it. All of us are feeling it. Some of us feel the squeeze. Some of us think that it is a good thing. Maybe the older generation are not as comfortable because it's used to a a singular hegemonic system, but now as things are fragmenting, and even for someone like Jason, I don't think he can deny that this is the fragmentation is happening, and that the U.S. Is not, when policies are formulated and when it's pushed down, at times it seems disjointed, at times it is not as powerful as it used to. And that is really why he thinks that even in Washington, when policies are being announced or when policies are being enacted, it is not necessarily done in a cohesive, smooth. The delivery is somewhat disjointed, because Jason and I have lived in an era when directives are given. I won't say directives. When policies are being announced and enacted, it is done. It's done. There's hardly any disjointment, but I think in recent years we have felt that it is, things are very different. So, but at the same time, Jason is of the view that the US-China rivalry is not necessarily over, in the sense that while this rivalry is happening, and we will be seeing a lot more of it, it is not certain that China is going to win the race, nor it is certain that US is going to lose. So that's his take on what's happening. And what Donald Trump is trying to do, while it seems very painful and very chaotic for smaller countries like ours, he reckons that what Donald Trump is doing is not for for Malaysia or for Canada or for Mexico or Venezuela. He's not doing it for them. He is doing it for America. He is really, truly America first. And what he's trying to do, according to Jason, is that he is trying to at least have some sort of pushback to a point where there is some sort of a level playing field with China. Okay. America cannot afford for China to win, and for US to lose. So what Jason reckons is that he thinks that at least they must be on par. I think that is his interpretation of what Donald Trump is trying to achieve. Although it may seem very chaotic, very selfish, very disjointed, very fragmented, very bizarre, very outlandish, and loud, cowboy, a lot of, all sorts of adjectives that's being, thrown at Trump. But I think in all that theater, Jason seems to see that there is some sort of order to it, simply because he is having to fight against a lot of, I think, a lot of forces within the American society and also within the administration that perhaps don't agree with his policies. While we were talking about US and Malaysia, I just want to raise this issue about the recent Trump's visit to Malaysia and what transpired during the ASEAN summit. So the ASEAN summit was one aspect of it, but the other aspect of it was, I think, that caused a lot of hoo-ha in Malaysia, and especially Malaysia, was that Malaysia was seen, at least the Anwar administration, was seen as giving too much giving in too much to the US, and especially in with regards to the rare earths. So a lot of people have criticized the government, saying that we have allowed US to impose restrictions on the sale of rare earths to China. I think perhaps imposing a restriction is confusing, because what the US is trying to do is not imposing it on Malaysia, although effectively it is. But what the US is not restricting, exports from Malaysia, but instead it's actually taking actions to build up and secure an alternative supply chain, and it happens to be Malaysia, because Linus, which is in this place called in Kuantan in Pahang, it's part of Linus, this company that's it's an Australian company. It is a very important plant. It's a processing plant, and one of the largest outside of China. So for the US, this is a very crucial act of balancing their own supply chain and their own security, as I have explained to you, and that kind of dovetailed into what Jason was trying to say earlier on, that it is trying to achieve a better level playing field, if you like. And yes, Malaysia is caught in it, and I know a lot of my colleagues and analysts have also said this is something that is going to cost Malaysia, right? To remain, this is what it means to remain geopolitically neutral. And I don't disagree. Now, is it acceptable to Malaysians? I think that's still up for debate. But again, it is not. I think entering this deal with the US, it is, as I say, it's not about restricting Malaysia. It is actually a restriction on specific Chinese companies operating in Malaysia, to prevent them from strengthening China's grip on strategic rare earth sector. And I'm sure it's not for nothing that Malaysia has entered into this agreement. I believe the US Department of Defense would have, awarded certain benefits or funding to be able to provide Linus with key strategic operational experience, to build capacity and so on, and of course, knowledge passed on to Malaysia. So this is what you call what the Trump administration calls a broader friend-shoring strategy, which means that U.S. would encourage supply chains to shift to allies and friendly countries, so friend-shoring. So, and I suppose Malaysia has decided that this is going to be a strategic move in order to balance the geopolitical forces within the region. So as I said, it is not it is not easy for Malaysia and many countries in the region. It's not easy to maintain neutrality. It does come at a cost. It also comes with a benefit, with some benefits as well. That's how I think generally Malaysians see it. I suppose we'll have to find our our level at the end of the day. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation that I had with Jason, although the ASEAN summit came later. So this is kind of an add-on commentary on what Jason has to say, and I think it dovetails into what he sees as the crucial moment of US-Malaysian relations. Thank you very much. See you next episode.